This is Fuzzy Road to Health, and I'm Fuzzy D. So today we're going to be talking about dangers of a standard American diet. Let's get started. So the first thing to talk about is sugar. It's kind of the elephant in the room. Sugar is addictive and it causes inflammation throughout the body. Sugar actually activates or stimulates the same part of the brain as cocaine and other hard drugs. They've actually done scans to prove this. They can actually see the part of the brain that's being activated. They've determined that it's exactly the same part of the brain gets activated by sugar as these other hard drugs. So that should tell you something right there. Now, the other thing that sugar does is, of course, it causes your pancreas to produce insulin. Now, your pancreas is made to produce insulin, but it's not made to produce the amounts that are required to process all the sugar and carbs that we're seeing in our diets today. So over time, this will cause stress to your body and your pancreas, and you'll start getting insulin resistance. You know, the other side effect when you're eating sugar is it signals your body to take the excess energy that it's getting from the sugar and store it as fat instead of burning it in your body to operate muscles and such. And the other side effect to sugar, whether it's coming from, refined sugar or fructose, stuff like that, or from carbohydrates, is it'll cause fatty liver disease. My doctor, amongst most other traditionally trained doctors, will try and tell you that eating fatty meat will create fatty liver disease, but that's just not true. I don't know where they got that idea, but there's no science to back it up. You just can't listen to a lot of the stuff the doctors try and tell you because, they're working on a lot of what they've been taught in medical school, which is based on either flawed science or deliberately corrupted science that's being paid for by other special interest groups. I'm not going to name them because it might cause me a problem on my channel. So I have to be a little careful about how I talk about some of this stuff. Now, of course, any type of carbohydrates are going to be turned into sugar, glucose. Now, there are some other things that are kind of related to that, but we'll get into that a little later. So why do we need to get away from plants on the carnivore diet? With rare exceptions, almost every plant has toxins of some kind or another. You have to remember that, animals, they've got some choices to keep you from eating them. They can run away. They can attack you. They've got teeth and claws and they can do damage. They can fight. Plants don't have that option. They can't run away. They can't fight you. So their only defense is chemical. So almost all plants have some type of chemical defense. Sometimes those chemical defenses are very specific, and there are certain animals that have developed to be able to eat those plants that would be toxic to other people. One example that comes to mind is the koala. Koalas eat only one thing, and that's eucalyptus leaves. Nobody else can eat eucalyptus leaves. No other animal can eat eucalyptus leaves. It would kill them. And then you've got pandas. They eat bamboo. And I don't think you would be able to live very long if you're eating nothing but bamboo, but they certainly can. So, they've evolved to be able to do that. There's actually a really good video that's in a playlist on my YouTube channel. Let me just show you this real quick. So if we take a look at the playlist on my YouTube channel, I've got a playlist called Carnivore Research. So if we open up that playlist, right now there's like 73 videos in here. But the one that I'm talking about here is by Dr. Anthony Chaffee. He's a neurosurgeon that works out of Australia. He was trained in the US, and it's called Plants Are Trying to Kill You. And he gave a very interesting statistic. Brussels sprouts, for instance, when they did a chemical analysis, they discovered that it has 136 known human carcinogens. That means cancer-causing chemicals. And that's just one example. There's all kinds of other plants that have toxins. And even the ones that don't, they also have oxalates and other stuff that isn't good for the body. All of those things can stress the body. They can cause inflammation. Inflammation will cause chronic disease. What they've discovered with research, there's actually research going back into the 1800s that shows that an all-meat diet will cure almost all chronic disease, or at least put it into remission. Back in the 1800s, a doctor by the name of Dr. Salisbury, and yes, that's where the Salisbury steak came from. So he actually did about 30 years of research with his patients. That's what he discovered. And that's why he developed the Salisbury steak, so that it was something that could be easily fed to patients even when they had problems eating. If they had problems with their teeth or swallowing issues, hamburger was something, or ground beef was something that they could usually deal with. And it was inexpensive and easy to obtain. Since I got my YouTube channel here, I'll also go over some of the other playlists here with you. We've got my health vlogs, so that's just, I don't blog every week or anything, but I vlog from time to time, and just kind of tell you what's going on in my life, how my health is doing. It also helps keep me accountable. And I've got a playlist, Stories of Healing. Now, these are interviews with people that have been healed through the carnivore diet. And a lot of these interviews are conducted by other doctors. Not all, but a lot of them are. There's actually a couple interviews in there that I've done, like people interviewing me. One of the interviews was done by a naturopathic doctor out of Australia. That was the first interview that I did. And then I was interviewed quite recently, actually, by a food trainer based out of British Columbia, Canada. Now I've got this other playlist. These are videos that I've made. And these are about the carnivore lifestyle. There's some interesting videos in there. And then I've got a bunch of carnivore recipes that I've been putting together. Another thing to talk about with plants are legumes. So basically any type of beans. String beans, lima beans, kidney beans, black beans, that kind of thing. They all contain lectin. Now, other foods contain lectin as well, other processed foods. But the problem with lectin is that it blocks your satiety signal. In other words, it blocks your ability to feel full. Now, the ability to feel full actually comes in two stages. The first stage is triggered when you've eaten enough nutrient-rich food. So when your body senses that you've got enough nutrients, it'll signal you to stop eating. Now that's the one that gets blocked by lectin. But if you continue to eat, then you'll get a second signal, which is that your stomach is completely full, it's stretched, and you're in danger of damaging yourself if you continue to eat. So if you're eating processed foods, or you're eating legumes, and you're getting that lectin, you're not going to get that first satiety signal. So you're not going to feel full until your stomach's like fit to burst. So you're eating way more than you should be. So that's where this causes a real problem, especially for those of us trying to lose weight. Something I want to talk about, and I'll see if I can find a chart to pop up for you to take a look at. And I'll try to put a couple links down in the description where you can look at this. But there's also some of those videos in the carnivore research playlist will show you these charts. So if I don't get one in there for you to look at, check those out. If you chart the rise in consumption of sugar and processed foods, ultra processed foods, seed oils, vegetable oils, and the reduction in the amount of red meat and fat, natural fat being eaten. And then you compare that to the rise in chronic disease, autoimmune disease, obesity, heart disease, diabetes, and many other chronic diseases. If you chart those and you graph them out, the rise in the amounts of disease and obesity and all that stuff rises almost exactly the same curve as the use of these really bad foods. Is that scientific cause and effect evidence? Maybe not precisely, but it's pretty hard to ignore that. You know, when you look back at stock footage from people coming home from the Second World War, and you look at all the people that they were filming, you know, the old black and white movie footage or news footage of, you know, Times Square and stuff, and you look around and you saw no fat people, no obesity. You know, it was extremely rare at that point. I think something along the lines of only 4% of the population was considered obese at the end of the Second World War. And you fast forward today, where over 50% of people are considered obese, and another 20% are considered borderline obese and severely overweight. And, you know, you look at children in school, you know, we're seeing like elementary school and high school kids that are pre-diabetic or full diabetic and are insulin resistant and obese. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And there's a reason for that. It's because of all the sugar and processed foods that are being pushed on us. Well, if you enjoyed this video or found it useful, please make sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you're sure to catch our next videos coming out. We appreciate you being here today. We always enjoy having you. We'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.